Tom Mullen, for those who don't know Tom, he's our good friend from upstairs. He's the VP of Marketing Catalog at Atlantic Records. And give it up for Tom, man. And 10 years ago, he started washedupemo.com. It's a leading destination for the entire history of emo that's expanded into a monthly DJ night, a podcast, and recently published a book called The Anthology of Emo, Volume 1. And just a fun fact to tie it all to why we're in the room, but Tom's first time seeing Dashboard was back in 2001 at the Roseland Ballroom here in New York City. Yeah, you were at that show. You were there. Hell yeah. All right, without further ado,
I was too.
Come take this mic off me, Tom.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was all hardcore bands, by the way. That was and a punk rock. Face to Face, Snapcase, No Motive, and H2O.
Yeah.
And Chris opened. So there's a bunch of hardcore kids there. I was in the front row, like he forced me to be earlier. And it was awesome.
I've been torturing Tom for a long time.
What was really cool is there at the merch booth after, because people hadn't heard him, there were guys and girls, and they were together talking about it, which I thought was awesome. You were combining the forces.
I'm a pleaser.
Great. Questions? I will translate. No one has questions? I can't see. Hi, yes. Yell, and I'll repeat it. Yes.
In the Swiss Army Romance, did you play a lot of your songs in a special, tuning?
Yeah.
That was technical. Swiss Army Romance. What tuning?
Well, not specific to that song. I think she's asking in general, but the first two records are almost all open tunings, very strange tunings, and I found a lot of mystery in just making my guitar sound like a mess, and then seeing if I could write a song in it.
Were you changing it through yourself? Like, were you picking the note, or were you just going in a book and realizing, oh, this is open G tuning? Let me try that.
No, I was just making it sound functional because I had a really, really crappy guitar that it wouldn't hold a tune no matter what. So I would just lower all the strings really low, and they would have all these great overtones, and somehow I'd hear these melodies in them, and it's been driving people who have been trying to learn my songs since really crazy. And myself too sometimes when I'm like, how'd that go? Oh, yeah.
Can I have a follow-up?
No. I'm joking, yes, sure.
What I wanted to say is I broke a lot of strings trying to play your song.
Yeah, so I did too. Those tunings are not the best idea. You will break some strings. You will break some hearts. You see what I did there?
Yes.
What do you love to play and what do you not love to play?
There's very little I don't love to play. I mean, by rights, I shouldn't have gotten this opportunity. I'm very, very lucky to be sitting here with you guys and to have had a career at all. There's very few things I don't think there's any songs I don't like to play. There are songs I don't know how to play. It makes me nervous. But, people often ask me, they do ask me, you ever get tired of playing, Hands Down or, Vindicate or these songs that, are you fucking kidding? It's I really wish I was a cooler dude that could be no, I like my deep cuts, But are you kidding? We all get to sing this song. You guys give a shit? This is fantastic. I can't believe it. So it's, this has been a voyage of elation for me. I didn't expect it. It shouldn't have washed out this way for me. I had a very hard childhood, a very strange upbringing. And I'm lucky to be here alive at all, and let alone being able to play music for people that they care about the music I play. So yeah, there's if you ask for it, I'll do my best. I might crash and burn, but I'll do it.
Yes.
What bands inspired you? What bands do you listen to now?
So bands that inspired me. In the early days, I'm assuming you're asking about. I listened to a lot of like heavy hardcore bands, but I also came up listening to Paul Simon and Fleetwood Mac and the Beach Boys. The Cure was is a massive influence on me. Recently, I find myself really very inspired by Amy Shark, by Phoebe Bridgers, by Sorority Noise, by Beach Slang. The Streets. I know they're not really making new music now, but I am just heavily obsessed with the Streets. Yeah, there's sort of no end in sight for the things that inspire me. Isn't that the best thing about being a music fan? You know, especially when it just like lands in your lap. I love those moments, man. Somebody says, "Listen to this," and you're like, "I don't have time, man. I've got so many drinks to have," or whatever it is. And then you take a listen and you're like, this is all I'm going to do for the next 3 days is listen to this one song on repeat, which is what happens with that song Adore by Amy Shark. You know, when I heard it when it first came out and I thought this was brilliant. And then she put out that acoustic version of it and I just have lost my ever-loving mind. I can only listen to one song now and that's it. I run, by the way, like I run an excessive amount. I really like running. It gets all my anxiety in check. And I've realized, like, you shouldn't listen to one song for 7 miles. It's actually counterintuitive to the thing at hand, but I can't stop. Do you guys know Amy? Have you heard this song, Adore? Listen again. Yeah, she is fantastic.
Yes, right there.
Do you have a favorite place to play? And that can be either like a venue or a country or a state. Like, what's your favorite place to play?
Well, so I don't know if you guys are from here or if you. So yeah, it's a thick Brooklyn accent she has over there. I grew up in the tri-state area, so yeah, I used to tell my ma, I'm going to sleep over somebody's house, and I would take the Amtrak into the city and go to shows here, and so I think my relationship with New York, I would eventually live here for a long time and wrote a lot of songs here, but I think my relationship with New York as a music fan, just a fan, that's where a lot of my roots are. So I have a strong connection to New York City. It's interesting because most big cities in the world, people are so inundated with great music every night that they become desensitized and they stop giving when they're at the show. They're just used to it, but somehow that doesn't happen here. They're just enamored with the moment, and I've never seen it change, and I don't think it's gonna. Oh, that's a great question. Oh, so I'll give you two. I saw Shudder to Think and Fugazi at. Did they? I'm assuming you weren't in the same class. And then another night, I had a special night. It was the first time I ever recorded a song, and it was with one of my earliest bands. And it was in those days where like, yeah, you can come in. We've got a spot for you. We'll only charge you like $90 if you come in at like 3 a.m. or whatever, So first I went to see Smoking Popes and Jawbreaker, two of my favorite bands ever. And then I went and recorded the first song I ever recorded. That was a pretty good night. Yeah. There's no way to tell. I honestly can't remember.
That's right here, sir.
Love.
Is that it?
That's it. I don't have another. That's it.
Shit. All right. Right there in the corner.
All of them, man. I've been really lucky that I put myself in a position very early where I was decided like no one was going to tell me who I was going to tour with, and I was just going to pick bands that I thought would light the crowd on fire. Maybe I could introduce some new bands to people that hadn't heard them before, or deliver a great pairing of bands. And it's just damn near impossible to pick. But I could tell you maybe about bands that I've opened for that were like incredible. Because I had nothing to do with that. I was just lucky enough to be asked. You know, in those early days, like Tom was talking about, like to be asked by Face to Face and H2O and Snapcase to go out there with an acoustic guitar because they believed in what I was doing, even though it was so far on the wrong end of the spectrum for what they usually bring out. That was special. And then, you know, all those years later, you know, we're out with Beck and Weezer, and we're out with U2. And we're out with Bon Jovi? Are you kidding me? I got this call like, you're going to say no to this. You got this idea, like, so John Bon Jovi wants you to, yes. Yeah, you just don't know where life's going to hand you some weird, awesome thing like John Bon Jovi wants you to. And it could have been clean his boat. I would have said yes. I never got to the end of the question. But it turned out to be tour.
Right here in front.
So Impossible is this EP that tells this story of this relationship I was in, that the songs on it are So Impossible, Remember to Breathe, For You to Notice, and Hands Down. And I don't know if that's the right order. But it is a linear story. So I probably should know what the order is. But the inspiration was, it's pretty self-evident. I fell in love with a girl in the way you can when you're young. And it was very fleeting because I was moving. I went to something like 16 different schools between kindergarten and graduating from high school in all kinds of states, countries, and countries and cities. And so I knew this was, as per usual, just maybe I got a month here or something like that. And it was very strange that this had such an impact on me. And that relationship would come back into my life in the strongest way. So it turned out I was right. When I wrote the songs, I thought to myself, this may be the best things ever get. But guess what? I found her again, and it got better, and it gets better, and it's getting better.
That was awesome. Chris, you told me a story about Crooked Shadows, and I thought it was awesome, and it made me listen to this song differently after you told it. Do you mind telling the inspiration behind that?
Okay. So I have kind of an unconventional job. Traveling the way I do isn't normal, and to be gone for so long it's an oddity. And it's one thing if you're young and single. It's another thing if you're old and single. But when you're in a relationship, you have to adjust to the fact that you have 2 lives, 3 lives. You've got like this life that you have together. Then you have these 2 lives that you have individually from each other that overlap. And then you have these really completely independent lives where you might go through a whole day and just never occur to you to try to give the details of that day. It's just too much to catch up on every day. Well, So I married a very independent woman, very strongly independent woman. And we're really great at being together when we're together and together when we're apart. But adjusting to each new period is difficult. So when you leave, it's hard. But you'd think when you come back, it'd just be smooth sailing, like, thank goodness we're back together. But that really just isn't how it works. You have to find your way back into each other's daily world. And so we were together. I had just gotten home from tour. But we weren't together. I mean, we were holding hands, we were walking, but we still were in our two separate places. And it was not a very pretty day out in my town, and we just were walking around our downtown area. And just for a second, as we were walking past the tall steps for the courthouse and the library, the sun kind of came through and our shadows went up, like real jagged up the staircase. And I thought, well, that's not perfect, but it's really beautiful. And that's instantly I thought it surmised what our relationship is. And I looked at those crooked shadows and thought that phrase, crooked shadows, and the next day just happened to be inspired to write something, and that's what came out.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. We have a special. We're going to take photos over to the right so everyone can hang out. There's going to be a little photos. And if you want more stories from Chris Carrabba, Anthology of Emo, Volume 1. Anthologyofemo.com. I can't believe I just plugged my own book at work.
By my friend Tom Mullen, which
Chris
you can
is
buy
in it if you want more stories, but he
everywhere.
will tell better ones when you're with him. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
One more time for Tom and Chris. That's good. All right. So everyone, feel free to stick around. We're going to take some Polaroids over there. Get yourself a Brooklyn Gin cocktail. They're amazing. And I'm going to announce the winners of the signed vinyl contest. So we got, come up here and find me and prove that your handle is Fuzzy Delusions, Jerry.Jiff, KAC410, and Anna Banana 3460. And our least favorite is Dan Bags. So, yeah, come find me and get your Thin Mints.